Yay Media Group.
I think about like your mom, she was scared of escalators and things like that. But facing death, she was like so strong and so brave.
Yeah,
and
I don't know how she did that.
I know. And I'm like, you were so scared of, if we went to the mall, she'd be like, oh no, we got to go.
I know.
We'd have to go the longest way. And she was just so brave. And I'm like, there's got to be something inside you.
That's what I was saying. Maybe that is God helping you relax.
Hey guys, episode 239. We had a great weekend. This is Monday. Our kids are out of school. I don't know why they're out of school again, but we had a great weekend. It was very chill. I did a post. I put The Simple Life. We went to Sam Shocker, who works with Jeff at Daily Blast Live. We went to their house. I mean, she's just got like that typical 90s amazing backyard that her husband put together because he's very artsy and crafty. And our kids just love going and playing in their backyard. It's like that tire swing in the tree.
It's so suburban.
Yeah,
It almost looks like a movie.
It does. It looks like a movie set.
Yeah.
They've done like a great job, but it's just nice to switch it up, hang out with other people that we usually don't see every single day. And it's nice for you to get inspired again and somebody who knows what you're going through and understands you. Bert was there, Jeff's old boss. I love Bert. He's hilarious. And we just hung out.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I like, because if you talk like, you know, about like the business that I'm in to other people, like one, they might not understand. And two, they're like, who do you think you are? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable talking about that with certain people. So it's nice to talk to coworkers or people in that business, you know what I mean? And really brainstorm or get out some frustrations or new ideas, whatever it might be, without sounding like pompous.
But
you know?
I think you're in your safe space.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can say whatever and she knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And can relate to it, especially Bert, your old boss, who's been in the business since the 70s?
Yeah, for a long time.
So it's really funny to like hear his take on things.
It is funny to hear his take because he's been in the business so long to see the dynamic of how much it's changed throughout his time.
Right.
You know?
And what's the show? There's another show that he's on right now that they interview him.
Yeah, you can watch it.
Discovery ID, but
you can watch on HBO. It's something Hollywood Secrets or Jerry Springer, something like that. Yeah,
something like that. So if you guys want to see his old boss, Bert Dubrow, he's on it and he's sharing like his take and like behind the scenes stuff.
Right, because it's so funny even in today's society. I guess it's always happened, but you have like two stories of the way something went down. Mm-hmm. Or something went down and you get two people's perspective on it and they're two completely different like perspectives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, he talked to old coworkers and things like that. And he goes, I had no idea that stuff was going on, even though he was the executive producer.
But he was saying how they would say, Bert's coming in the office and everybody would straighten up before he got there. So he thought everything was fine, but you didn't know what was going on behind the scenes.
Right. So when something crazy happened, it kind of landed in Bert's lap and he's like, I wasn't even there for that.
Right.
He was there for most of it, but it's just funny getting his take and then other people's perspective. And it's just
cool. Like the restaurant business. Don't you remember when the owner was coming and they would be like, oh, let's say Jeff, the owner, is coming and everybody would make sure everything was perfect around the restaurant. There were no crumbs, nothing. Everything was just perfect.
But they do that in, politics. They do that when someone important comes from another country, whatever city they're going in or vice versa. They clean up that part. Like they did that, I think, with Xi Jinping when he came to San Francisco.
Okay.
They like totally cleaned it up.
I remember that.
And then I think Gavin Newsom was like, well, you got to clean up your house when someone comes to visit. That was like his quote, but it's like, keep your house clean. Isn't that the kind of moral of the story? I know you can't at some times, but.
Speaking of California, and because you said Gavin Newsom, I'm not going to go on.
I'm not getting into. I'm just.
Thing.
I don't. You can't even name a person's name without being political.
I think I've said this before. I'm rooting for Spencer Pratt. I want to see him succeed, and I feel like he's so passionate about California, and he's lived there that I think he'd do a good job, even though he's a reality person.
That's so crazy. Things have gotten.
But they asked Kristen Cavallari on Watch What Happens Live what she thought. And she knows him. And she's just like, on The Hills, he was playing a character. And I just think that, when you're passionate about something, and he actually experienced the wildfires, like his family lost their homes, I'm rooting for him.
Well,
I thought I would never, ever, ever, ever say that.
Well, they interviewed Brody Jenner, again, another stuff, but he was pulling for him because that's his buddy. But he's been on Joe Rogan. He's been on Adam Carolla's podcast. He's been on like big podcasts. So I don't know. According to him, I have no idea. I just watch like clips. I don't know what his agenda is, but I know one of them is to uncover fraud and what happened to all the money that's supposed to go to homelessness or protecting wildfires. And the money's not going where it's supposed to go.
Right.
Something's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think anyone who's lived in LA kind of knows things aren't on track by any means.
There's a couple celebrities that I follow on Instagram, and they have been like, go Spencer.
Well,
there was one going off the other day about a parking ticket saying that LA just takes your money, and they were really mad in the camera. And then they were, other people are talking about him. So
I know it's just now when you talk, again, we're not getting into politics. I'm just talking general, points of view here. But there's like so much fraud. I always have this conversation like with people like around here or at work. When there's something bad in our food, like RFK is trying to get rid of, it shouldn't be the messenger that you're trying to kill. You know what I mean? It should be like, well, we should fix this. Our food is poison. They don't allow it in other countries. Like the bread here, the dyes that we use, they're not even legal in other countries. But because it comes from RFK, people put a political agenda on that. Instead of saying, hey, my kid's eating poison, can we fix that? There's like a political lean to it, which I don't like. If Elon Musk says, hey, there's fraud in the government, people are like, Elon's a crazy right-wing person. Let's not look into this fraud. Well, there's fraud. Why don't you want to get rid of the fraud? Why does it matter if Michelle Obama introduced it or Gavin Newsom or whoever it is? I don't care what side you are politically. Fix the problem. Yeah. So it takes something crazy like Spencer Pratt from The Hills running for mayor to maybe unfold some of this, not to beat up Gavin Newsom. I don't know what's happening in California, but they uncovered all this fraud, right? And he passed a bill saying that they're not allowed to look into the fraud. What is that? I don't care what side you're on. That's craziness. Yeah. There's fraud going on and you pass a bill saying you're not allowed to look into the fraud? That's crazy. So maybe things maybe to California. Maybe Spencer Pratt's the answer. Who knows? Crazier things that happened. Our president's a reality star.
Switching gears.
People get all like really uncomfortable whenever you mention like somebody in politics. Like everybody, it's going to be okay. Actually, I don't know that, but it's okay to bring it up as long as you're not a crazy left or righty. Right.
Okay. So one thing I do want to talk about, like, I believe in angels, and we're going totally the other way. I believe in angels. I believe in God. And I feel like there's been a lot I saw this the other day. Okay. So Quentin Aaron, he was on The Blind Side.
He was the actor.
He was the actor on The Blind Side.
Who played the football player.
Yes, who played the football player. So I saw on Instagram, he did this interview. And he flatlined a couple times. And he's saying that he saw God and that God healed him. And he said he had this pain in his back and that God put his hands on his back and the pain went away. And my thing is, I always talk about this with my mom. Why do some people get certain chances and then why other people don't? And it's something that I always just am so curious about. And just like him, he got healed. And he said he knew when he came to, he started crying because he knew God healed him before the doctors even talked to him. Perez Hilton is another person who almost died. He looks awful right now if you've seen him. He's lost so much weight. And he's like, God healed me and God saved me. And now he's been like talking about God. And I've been watching all of that. And, yeah, that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about, because we watched on Netflix. It was called Surviving Death. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's so good. I don't even know if it's still on Netflix. I watched this maybe like 2 years ago, and I believe it was episode 2. And it was people who talk about that they have died and then they came back, and then they say like it was so peaceful where they were at that they didn't want to come back.
Yeah, no, I think we've all heard those stories, right? But it's very few people have experienced those stories.
But I love hearing those stories, because I am so curious about life after death. And, you know, I read my Bible. I've been reading these books. There's this book I'm reading. It's called The King is Coming, because this guy I listened to, this guy was on his podcast. And it's something I've just been listening. I just started following this person on Instagram, and they post all these people who have these near-death experiences, or people who have died and then they've come back, and they share your stories. But sometimes, like, I'm like, God, I feel like does that so people can come back and share it. But then other people think you're crazy. But again, I've shared this story before too. Me and my sister, when we were at my aunt's house when I was 5, my sister was 7, I saw there was an angel behind me and there was an angel behind my sister. And I know what I saw. And when Quentin was talking about God, and he was talking about the robe and the light, I was like, that's how it was with the angels that I saw. They were, how I describe it is, they just were glowed. Like they had this glow about them. And, you know, like I don't know, I just am very just fascinated, not fascinated, but I'm just so curious about all of this.
Well, the good news is we'll all find out eventually. I
know. I just don't, I always say to God, like, don't take me while my kids are young. Like when they graduate high school, you can take me because they will be grown men, but don't take me while they're young. And I am just, you know, because I feel like there's so much information on the internet. There's so much, every time I open my phone, it's sickness. It's just stuff that really puts you down, and it just makes you think, like, when you die, are you going to see your family? Or are you going to see your loved ones? I have this thing I sent my friend whose dad had passed away. And it said, as soon as a believer dies, like you see like your loved ones.
I hope all that's true. And I want, I grew up with church. I went to CCD. I'm Catholic. But I'm not like, every Sunday, neither of us are. Like go to church every Sunday. We kind of go on Christmas and Easter. And I
want to go more though.
Yeah, it does. It makes you feel good. And that's another thing. Again, politics, religion, these are things people get uncomfortable to talk about. But I don't see the problem with like organized religion as long as the message is good, right? And when you go to church, it's always positive. I do get a little sketchy with big box churches. Or is that what you call them? The mega church, like give me all your money and then in return you'll have a place in heaven. I don't like that message, but just the message of being a good person, being good, the commandments, don't mess around with your neighbor's wife, thou shalt not kill. Those are all good messages. But the thing when religion gets a little muddied in the water is when it starts turning into cults. And there's so many examples of people that are broken that just want answers, want to find someone, quote unquote, like God. And this person is using these broken people to get what they want. And then they all end up the same. They have sex with all of them. You know what I mean? And that gives, or I guess maybe the Catholic religion a bad name, including all the other stuff that's happened with little boys and priests and things like that. But I'm just talking about the message itself. If you're not hurting anybody and it's making you a better person by following a few simple rules, the golden rule, do unto others as you want done to yourself, I don't see the harm in that. So I would love if someone explained, I wish there was someone here that thought that was a negative aspect of life. Because I'm into positivity and believe that what you want. I really do. If you focus on positive things, you're going to have positive outcomes in your life. Of course, bad things happen. You're going to get a flat tire. Your furnace is going to break, things like that. But if you focus on positivity, your life will be positive. If you focus on negativity, your life will be negative. I truly believe what you focus on in your mind, that's how the outcome of your life is going to be subconsciously.
Right. Well, I feel like there's like this shift or this movement. Also, too, Theo Vaughn was on his podcast crying. And I mean, that guy has everything going for him right now, but he was talking about needing a change. And sometimes I feel like God uses people to send the message out. And like, even with me, like there's things that I feel it's not like I can hear God's voice like telling me something, but it's something inside that like I'll feel it, and I can feel a shift within myself, like within the past couple of months. And it's a good feeling. I can't explain it, but it's something that like I pray about and I talk about. And I don't know. I feel like there's so much hate and things going on in the world that you do need to turn to God, and you need to turn to something that you believe in to keep you positive and to keep you going.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I like the message, what you're saying, and I'll be 100% honest. Everything I went through, my mom passing, I lost my faith a little bit.
Everybody does that because everybody's upset and you're questioning things and you're like, why didn't you heal my mom? Why did this happen? She's such a good person. Everybody says those things. My mom lost her mom when she was 23 years old of breast cancer. Her mom was 39 when she got diagnosed with breast cancer and died 15 months later. My mom is 65, I think, and still to this day won't really talk about her mom unless once a year when it's the anniversary of her mom's death, and she always breaks down and cries. But still to this day, it's like she had to block it out of her mind.
Yeah. Well, I used to pray every day. Like I did for years and years and years. I kind of found faith again, you know, in my 20s or early 30s, whatever it was, you know, after Catholic school and all that. But I found faith again, and I never missed a day of prayer because I was very thankful for everything. I believe like, you know, my ancestors, my grandmothers helped me in some sort of way, especially when it came to like getting on reality shows. You know, I've always said that, like my grandmother's passed away and then I got on Big Brother. I felt like they helped me in some way. So I was very religious. I even brought like a cross that I got blessed in the Vatican into the Big Brother house. I put it in my like, you know, what do you call that? You know, like your toothbrush bag or whatever. So, but then after everything with my mom, I maybe, you know, if I'm in the sauna, like trying to just meditate and kind of chill out, maybe I'll do a prayer in there, you know, but I don't do it nearly. I never missed a day, never, ever. And now it's like, maybe if I do it twice a week, you know.
But you have to.
I know, but I'm just saying, I get why people are confused out there. I understand people if they don't believe in religion. You know, maybe the white light is just your brain shutting down, but everyone experiences that. I don't know. I can't explain it. We'll all know. And I would love to think that there's a reason why things happen. You know, why do little kids get cancer? Why do God take your mom? Maybe our brains can't comprehend it because it's on a different wavelength and we just can't do it. I don't know. I'd like to think that there is answers and that we would be able to see everybody once we do, you know, get to that point in our life. But, you know, it's hard because maybe our brains can't comprehend it. You know what I mean? Like there is no explanation. I mean, when you think about the universe and how big and it never ends and it keeps going, like you can't even, you could say that, but you have no comprehension of what that really means. Just think space is never ending. There's no end to space. Your brain can't put that into, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So to explain religion on top of that is like, maybe we just don't know until it happens. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Okay. So this is kind of like testimony. I've probably shared little bits and pieces, but before I left for Big Brother, so I was 22 when I was on Big Brother. But before I left for Big Brother, I know I've shared stories with my dad about being like wild and crazy, which I was. But when my parents, so this was 2007, I believe, 2008. So around, those 2 years, that was like the worst time of my life. My parents got divorced. They hated each other. My dad lost everything.
shared that when my dad was on the podcast. At the time, you're young. This person I was dating, where you think like, oh, I'm going to marry that person, like broke up with me for somebody else. And everything in my world was falling apart. I didn't know. I thought I always wanted to be a dental hygienist and I had it figured out. And then I worked for my dad's friend and I hated the job. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm in and out of school. I'm living with my friend's mom. Then I felt like I overstayed my welcome. So then I moved back in with my mom and I was sharing a room with my mom in this. She wasn't in a good neighborhood at all. Like it was like kind of creepy at night. But there was one guy, he was a neighbor guy, that I would get home at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because I worked in the bars. And he would always be out with his friends and he'd give me a nod and like just let me know like I got you. And so I always felt like comfortable. And I was just like, I don't care. I've always been a good kid. I've followed the rules. I was wild at one point, but when all that went down, like with my parents and everything, I didn't care. I was like, I'm not even going to go like the stuff I was doing. I was doing really bad things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I was out of control. Like my mom did not know. She honestly was like, you are going to die because just the things I was doing. And then one night I was working and then Bonnie came in and found me for Big Brother. And like I said, everything, the casting person, she worked for Robin and Robin did casting for Big Brother. And I was at the lowest of low, but then, and I was questioning my faith. I was like, why would God let all this bad stuff happen to me? I've always been a good kid. And I was angry at just everything. I had like bags of clothes in the trunk of my car and I would just change in my car because I never knew what house I was going to be at or like spend the night at. I just get so drunk. I would black out and not know what was going on. And it's embarrassing, like things I would never want my kids doing, but I had no direction. And I always say Bonnie like changed my life. Obviously did not know anything about Big Brother, never wanted to do television. And I truly feel like it was a God thing for her to find me and to go through and just never watch the show and keep making it through each round and then getting on the show and then meeting you. And did not want a relationship, wasn't thinking about anything. Same with you, but it was just our bond and our friendship that formed, right? And then winning the show. And when I left, I told my mom, I go, if I win, which I didn't think I would, I was like, I promise you, I will buy you a house, we'll turn things around. And, I get on the show, all that stuff. And then when I got off Big Brother, that was September 15th of 2009, I remember being like, I don't want to be that person that I was. Because I'm sure people that watched me on Big Brother, that saw me on Big Brother, that knew me before I went on the show were like, that is not the same girl. Because on Big Brother, I seem like a good girl, right? Mm-hmm. But on the, I was like doing things that, I shouldn't have been doing. And I feel like my mom still to this day says that. She goes, if you did not get on Big Brother, you would be dead.
Yeah, well, you don't know. Yeah, I think it's easy.
But I questioned my faith.
Right, of course. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at now. I think it's easy when life is good to you, and we all have there's no such thing as a perfect life. There's no such thing as
life is perfect.
I know, but when you just see the Oscars, I want to thank God. When someone wins a Super Bowl, I want to thank God. When you win a World Series, I want to thank God. When things are going good, those are people that we got a once in a lifetime opportunity to be on that show. That's why I kind of thought there had to be some other explanation for me being on that show. That's weird that you thought the same thing.
Yeah, because you were in a really dark place too. And we both were. And I feel like we were just like meant to meet. It was just fate like that it happened. Because if you and I were in a bar back then, we would have probably never spoke. Our age gap just...
You always say that. Well, I don't know about that, but you're drifting off. What I'm trying to say is, and I think exactly what I'm feeling right now. If people are religious or were religious and things aren't going great, and just things are going great. Like if I stop, I really have to say, wow, look around. We have a house. We have a great neighborhood. Our kids are healthy. We're healthy. But then when that happened to my mom, that's what I used to pray about every day. And I was like, well, you're not holding up your end of the deal. Like in my head, when things aren't going good and God takes someone away that you love most in your life, there's a resentment factor there and you start to lose your faith. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if faith goes hand in hand with success, or maybe that's when you should practice your faith the most when things aren't going so good.
Yes.
So I'm confused, to be honest with you. I'm very confused. I still wear a cross. I still do, talk to God and talk to my mom through prayer, but there is a resentment factor there. I'm not going to like dance around it. I am a little bit angry with God or whatever that energy is, because I do believe there is energy. I don't know if there's the exact God that guy saw that walked by in a robe. I don't know if he truly exists. Maybe he does. I do believe in some energy out there, like in the afterlife. I do. I know some people think that's crazy, but whatever comforts you and consoles you. Because when you do come to that point in life, people are going through a lot worse. People are going through cancer right now listening to this, and they're really facing their fears or getting right with God, whatever that is. We're not there yet, but I am looking to that day. Like it's going to come for all of us.
Yeah.
And how is my relationship going to be? Is he going to resent me? Like I do have a lot of questions. I'm very confused. I really would like to talk to maybe a priest, or not just to get their insight on what they think, that their faith is so strong that it drove them to do what they do in life.
But I think
and
when
give up
you
everything.
go through hard times, that's when I'll give on my side, like I was straying away, which I should have been moving towards praying and God, but I was pushing away because I was mad. With like my whole world crumbled, like with my parents. Right. I know yours is different. Yours is death. I'm speaking of just.
No, we're speaking on what people have gone through way worse that are listening right now. We're just going what our life experience has brought us. Right. One's not worse than the other. I get what you're saying.
I think it shapes you in a way because you have to keep going, like even though times are tough or times are bad, you have to rely on your faith and prayer, or like you said, whatever else you believe to keep pushing you forward, to motivate you, to keep you going. Because if you don't have that, you break and you just crumble.
Yeah, I did. I almost
think
did.
You had me, you had your dad, you had your brother, you had other people to talk to, you had our neighbors to talk to. Some people don't have that. Other people
like support system, right?
You needed a good support system to go through that. But I think when I was going through that and questioning everything, and then going on Big Brother and seeing how things changed. I know this sounds probably crazy to other people. I remember like with Kevin, and I had to have that number at the end, and it was the final 2. There was just a feeling inside of me that said 50. Put 50. I didn't know what the answer was. And I remember being like 55, and there was something that said no, 50. And I put 50. And then when I had to choose, I remember being like, I really like Kevin because he's funny. I want to pick him. But something kept telling me, no, pick Natalie. And it's just, I feel like an inside, like almost God too, in a way. I know other people probably, if you don't believe, you think that's absolutely crazy. But I feel like it was God like talking to me. And then my grandpa, he's very religious, and I talked to him about it. He added up like all this stuff my parents lost through their divorce, and it all added up to $500,000.
Yeah, so that's
which
weird.
Is weird. And I always had in my car a guardian angel. I still to this day, I look and try to find the exact one that I had. My mom's friend gave it to me. And I swear to you, it saved me from anything that could have happened to me in my car.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have those things. And now, again, after Big Brother, I didn't hang out with the same people and everything. And I just changed how I was and then I got stronger in my faith because God showed me. But I think Big Brother, it wasn't for me. God placed Big Brother so I could help my mom.
Yeah. No, that I don't want to get emotional today. It's Monday. We got a long week. But I think, no, I get what you're saying. But now I used to be like, oh yeah, that's God, or that's someone that my grandmothers or whoever helping me, you know? And now I'm in accepting that help. Now I'm in a place where I'm like, why would God help me? You know, like, why doesn't he go help somebody that has a kid with cancer? You know, why?
But
go help that kid. I know, but my mind, I want to logically understand things, and there is no right or wrong, you know? And if you believe or not, there is no one right answer, you know? And I guess that's not what you want to hear in religion, but I just have a lot of questions now. I love hearing stories like that. Obviously it means a lot to you. You're getting emotional about it. I love that.
But I feel I
think a lot of, I don't know. I want to talk to somebody that's staunch in their faith, like a priest, you know, and try to get some answers, you know, maybe help me back on the path in some way. But
I think that's good. That's healthy. Yeah. That's like what you need to do. And you have to, I can only tell you so much, but somebody who's in the church can really like help you understand things.
Yeah, but I just wonder what's their answer? You know, how does he have an answer?
Tebow did a post. His father just died. And I was reading it and I was like, I get it. And he's like, this isn't a sad day. It's like a good day because my dad's like happy now. Now he's back. And I feel like I would be like that with my grandparents or my parents because, well, my grandparents and my mom are more religious than my dad. But my grandparents are like, it's a good thing. It's like, we're going home. You know, this is our temporary home and we're going home. And I always think that.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to truly and fully believe that because there is a comfort in that, because I think a lot of people have a fear of death. I know I do, especially
I do,
that everything
and
went through.
I shouldn't be just because I do pray and it's something that I work on. That I do have that fear of like, what if something happened? It's because I have kids now.
Yes.
And I'm like, I have to be here. I have to be here for the kids.
Right. There is no convenient time, but yeah, I mean, obviously you want to get your kids to a certain age and be healthy through all that. But
it's just like I think about like your mom, she was scared of escalators and things like that. But facing death, she was like so strong and so brave.
Yeah,
and
I don't know how she did that.
I know. And I'm like, you were so scared of, if we went to the mall, she'd be like, oh no, we got to go.
I know.
We'd have to go the longest way. And she was just so brave. And I'm like, there's got to be something inside you.
That's what I was, maybe that is God helping you relax, you know, but to have that faith like Tim Tebow, you know, and like be like, today's a good day. I would love to be in that place. It would be, that's why I said like religion.
But I think that's when
might be great, maybe not great for other people. You know, I just think when you start losing your way, you know, from God, you start losing your way from doing the right thing. Because if there is no God and I don't care about anything, what holds me back from killing you other than the law? And if I don't care about myself anymore or you, I don't care about anything, including the law. I don't care if I get caught. I don't care if I go to jail. I don't care about you or your family or murdering you. At least with religion, keeps you on somewhat of a path. I know that sounds insane, but it did kind of help me, you know, not to get that dark.
Right.
You know, because if God turns his back on you, then what's left? What do I care about? I don't care about if I throw my candy wrapper away. I don't care if I murder somebody in the street. I don't care about anything anymore. You know, I think there's something to religion that helps organize a community in a way.
But I think going back to, I think he uses people like Jelly Roll. Look at Jelly Roll. He's like, all he does is talk about God. And I mean, he was in prison. I mean, I like him, and I like Bunny too. She was an escort.
Yeah.
She's like, we're not perfect Christians. She was like, but we're getting our way back into Christianity and God and like what he's done in their life.
Why is this is a weird question you're not going to answer. We haven't answered any questions because religion. I have so many questions and no answers.
I wish my grandpa was here to talk about it because my grandpa has all the answers. He knows the Bible inside and out, and I call him all the time. If I have any questions about God or I don't understand something, I call him, and oh my gosh, we will be on the phone for like an hour, and he will just explain everything.
Yeah,
you should actually call my grandpa.
It is nice to hear that. Like Alex Boylan, who I had on the show a bunch of times, his dad was a pastor.
Yeah.
And like when I hung out with him that week we were shooting that movie, he just, I don't know, it's there's a comfort in talking to somebody who has more answers than you. Doesn't mean they have all the answers, but their faith, and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Like maybe that could be a day for me when I'm fully back and believe all that. And I'd love to be where Tim Tebow's at and be like, hey, this is a good day. I'd love to,
he's
for
like,
my
brain, dad's not sick anymore.
I know, I'd love for my brain to believe that. I'm not there at all, is what I'm saying. I think
it's small steps. I think it's just practicing it. I think it's opening up a Bible or something and reading it.
Yeah. And what I was going to ask was, and again, what is the hate or like against people who are openly religious? There seems to be like this, Tim Tebow, for example, he gets a lot of like kooky Bible thumper vibe, and a lot of people are turned off by Tim Tebow. I'm the opposite. I really like him. I think he's a great person. I just met him. I loved his drive when he played football. I love his commitment to excellence. I love that he's so into that faith. That's a perfect example. But a lot of people are like, this guy's a bozo. What? I don't understand that feeling towards someone when they're just trying to be a better person. It's not like he's trying to get money from you or take away, like, again, I have a problem with people like that are like, hey, give me your money, call in and God will save you. That's bullshit. Like I don't like that. I'm actually like nonprofit people. Maybe it's the same thing. I'm totally against nonprofits. Mm-hmm. A lot of them, it came out now that a lot of them steal money. The money doesn't go in the right spot. Roundup for Kids, you're pulling on my heartstring, and that money's not even going to kids. It's going to pay someone's Ferrari bill. I'm over getting like tricked by like religion, and I don't know if I'm just getting sour.
Well, I think there's some people who are not in it with the right reasons, who they just use.
But why
I love God, and then other Christians are like, oh, they believe in God. Okay, cool. And they're not in it for the right reasons. There's even some pastors too that I think are greedy and should not be pastors, but during judgment, they'll have to go through that. They'll have the answers. They'll have to do one day.
I'm going to have to go through a lot, I guess. I don't know. We didn't answer any questions. And I have way more questions.
I don't have any answers, but I just have questions. And I've been doing these devotionals, and I've been reading my Bible, and I get these books, and I'm trying to understand it and learn it. I should call my grandpa more and ask him other questions about it. But it's just something I'm interested in.
No, I'm interested too. I don't know I hope you guys are interested in this podcast, because I'm sure everyone has questions if you are in faith, or maybe you think we're crazy because we're talking about faith. But I think at the end of the day, everyone else's opinion doesn't matter. Do what's right for you and your family. And if it's going to make you a better person, or help you understand a little more, or help put something into your kids that makes them a better person, or help them understand a little bit more, I personally don't see the harm in that. And that's how I'm going to live my life. I wish I was better Christian or whatever religious follower, but I'm not, and I'm working on it. And I think that goes hand in hand with happiness in life, according to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The better your relationship is with God, the better your life is, because you see things in a different way.
Well, I think too, I pray over the kids. I pray over you just everything. And I think when you pray too about your marriage and things, it also helps. I feel like you and I have a pretty strong marriage. I mean, we have our moments and we fight, but
I totally get what you're saying. And I do too when I pray. I do the exact same.
Yeah. But I think that's important. And I think going back to what you were saying about Tim Tebow getting the people kind of hating on him a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's just because religion is tricky because people think of it, well, they stereotype me. Because you're a Christian, you think this way about me. Or like Peyton, people will say, oh, because you're a Christian, because you're gay, you don't like me. Things like that. Oh, yeah,
that's true.
That's what I'm talking about.
I did hear that argument. But now the Catholic Church is even accepting of the LGBTQ community.
My brother, I have the most religious family on my mom's side. And when Peyton came out, I didn't know how people were going to react. And, my grandpa was like, I love you, Peyton,
Yeah.
And it's just
I think we're so drawn to like the negativity. And again, every episode we talk about social media, it's not even 10% of the people putting out 90% of the content. We know that. Mm-hmm. It's all bullshit. And I don't know why Tim Tebow, I don't know why we're making an example, but it's like he gets shit for that. But if you post a new car with your top off, like with your nipples barely showing, you're going to get 1 million likes. It's like people are more interested than things than the way they actually feel. I think
keeping things back the way they used to be is the way we need to go. Keeping things simple, focus on family, focus on God, focus on your children, love your neighbors, your community, and keep it like that. All this other like flashy stuff people post. Of course, I like nice things. You like nice things, but we're not those people. We might splurge and buy things or go on trips, stuff like that. But keeping it simple, staying humble, and staying true to who you are, not being a fake person or putting this persona out. And that's pretty much social media is a persona. It's a fake life. It's fake story just for likes. Keep things real. And that's what people are craving. And we're going to stop there. Right. So I'm sorry if I didn't make sense on anything I'm saying, but
well, here you go. I'm going to read this quote. I believe life is constantly testing us for our level of commitment. I could have been like God writing that. And life's greatest rewards are reserved for those who demonstrate a never-ending commitment to act until they achieve. This level of resolve can move mountains, but it must be constant and consistent. As simplistic as this may sound, it is still the common denominator separating those who live their dreams from those who live in regret. Good way to end.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That was a little...
If you're going through something hard, I will be praying for you. And it will pass. It will pass. It's not perfect. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also, I said on the last podcast episode that there was a live on Sunday. There is no live on Sunday.
As of right now.
As of right now.
Yeah.
So just wanted y'all to know in case the ones that, and two, if you do tune into live, thank you so much. That was like so kind of you and all your support and everything. And you guys are so great with everything. But have a wonderful day. And hopefully we didn't throw you off on this. Bye.